She left her small hometown carrying nothing but courage and a diploma no one seemed to value. She arrived in the big city searching for an opportunity, but found only closed doors and a life marked by struggle and loneliness. She accepted a job as a maid in a luxury hotel, where she was just another face among silent hallways and spotless sheets, until, right there in the heart of that place where she served unnoticed, she met the millionaire who would change her story forever. What began as humble service slowly turned into an unexpected, forbidden romance, one strong enough to challenge everything money could buy. The old suitcases bumped against Grace's legs as she crossed the bus terminal lit by harsh fluorescent lights. Her heart raced, caught between fear and hope. The city seemed to breathe urgency and indifference, a painful contrast to the quiet of the countryside. Cars honked non-stop. Neon signs flashed as if mocking her fragility. With every step, it felt like she was walking into a world that didn't want her. The towering five-star hotel rose before her like a wall of glass and steel. The automatic doors slid open without a sound, revealing a golden lobby where marble gleamed under heavy chandeliers. Grace took a deep breath, pulling her simple coat tightly, a silent reminder of where she came from. Her eyes searched for courage as she stepped into that kingdom of luxury. Here, an invisible battle was about to begin. On her first day, the scent of expensive perfume and the muffled click of heels echoed through the endless corridors. Grace clutched her clipboard to her chest as if it were a shield. Behind every door, silk sheets, scattered clothes, and the marks of a life that seemed out of reach. The gap between her world and theirs weighed heavily on her shoulders, but it also fueled her determination. She often thought of the diploma tucked away in a dusty drawer back home. A trained teacher, yet no opportunities. The city demanded experience she didn't have, while the hotel offered only invisibility. Every room she cleaned was a reminder that her dreams were distant, but maybe not impossible. Life didn't have to end there. The nights were the hardest. Lying in her small rented room, listening to sirens echo through the city, Grace cried quietly. But between tears and exhaustion, she repeated to herself that there was no turning back. The city could either swallow her whole or transform her. What she didn't know yet was that, behind one golden hotel door, destiny was waiting to turn her world upside down. In the mornings, sunlight poured through the hotel's tall windows, flooding the marble floors like liquid gold. Grace walked with steady steps, pushing her silent cleaning cart. Every detail mattered. Sheets stretched as if untouched, pillows aligned in perfect symmetry. The soft scent of lavender filled the air, masking the traces left by hurried guests. Down the corridors, the sound of heels and hurried conversations didn't break her focus. Grace moved with quiet precision, almost invisible in that world. Her calloused hands, though unnoticed, knew the weight of every gesture. The place demanded perfection, and she delivered it without fail. It was her way of earning respect in a world that refused to see her. The salary was modest, almost an insult compared to the luxury around her. But for Grace, it meant survival. Every coin counted at the end of the month carried the weight of hard-earned independence. She didn't complain. She knew dignity came from supporting herself with honesty. The money might have been little, but her pride was whole. Some guests gave her quick glances. Others pretended she didn't exist. Grace didn't mind. She knew her strongest weapon was discretion. Being invisible in that world of wealth was, paradoxically, what allowed her to remain there. And every well-kept room was a silent step toward something greater. At night, she returned exhausted to her small room, her hands still smelling of disinfectant. But inside her heart, a spark of hope remained. Maybe life still had more to offer than polished floors and luxury sheets. Destiny seemed quiet, waiting for the right moment to reveal that her routine would not last forever. The hallway on the top floor had a different silence, almost reverent. There was the most expensive suite in the hotel, always reserved for a single name, Alexander Alex Walker, the mysterious millionaire, known for his fortune and his private nature. Grace had been assigned as the exclusive maid for that space. Her heart raced not because of the prestige, but because of the responsibility it carried. The golden door opened, revealing a room that looked like a palace suspended in the sky. Silk curtains softened the morning light, while the panoramic view of the city glittered like a living painting. Everything radiated power, from the flawless furniture to the respectful stillness in the air. Grace drew a deep breath, reminding herself that her duty was to serve, not to dream. As she straightened the sheets and arranged fresh flowers in a vase, she heard quiet footsteps behind her. It was Claire, a cheerful and curious coworker. With a conspiratorial whisper, she commented on Alex's looks, the man rarely seen, yet always talked about. Grace only smiled, trying to push away the unease those words stirred. They said the millionaire never entertained the same companion twice, yet he always returned to that suite. He demanded the room be kept ready at all times, as if it held not only rest, but secrets. Grace followed every instruction with precision, knowing every detail was inspected more carefully than anywhere else in the hotel. She was well aware that even the smallest mistake could cost her job. For now, there was no direct encounter, only the feeling that soon their lives would cross. Grace, without realizing it, was already caught in a story she hadn't chosen. The air itself seemed to carry a silent promise that something was about to happen. Then the phone rang in the hallway, summoning Grace in a hurry. A special request had been made. Her palms sweated as she turned the golden handle. Inside, Alex stood on the glass balcony, glass of whiskey in hand. Beside him, a dark-haired woman gazed at the city with a look of boredom, as if she were already used to the luxury that amazed everyone else. Grace kept her eyes lowered, stepping forward only to arrange the table. The silence was broken only by the distant hum of traffic and the clink of ice in Alex's glass. Suddenly, his deep voice cut through the air, praising her dedication. The words carried a tone laced with seduction. She froze for a moment, her face burning. The dark-haired woman laughed quietly, as if entertained by the scene. Uncomfortable, Grace quickly gathered the utensils. Alex's gaze followed her steady, almost challenging. The room, so grand moments before, now felt small and suffocating. Every second inside weighed on her like a trial. Without replying to his compliment, she left with a restrained nod. Her hurried footsteps echoed down the hall until the door closed behind her. Her heart still pounded, not from Alex's charm, but from his unexpected boldness. That attitude kept her on edge. That night, lying in her modest room, Grace thought about his piercing stare. She knew she would have to ignore any attempt at closeness. She couldn't afford to lose herself in dangerous illusions. Yet deep inside, she sensed it wouldn't be so easy to escape that gaze. The next morning, the hallway was empty as Grace pushed her cart. The door to Alex's suite swung open suddenly, revealing him earlier than expected. He entered calmly, his flawless suit contrasting with the room still in disarray. Startled, Grace kept working in silence, trying to ignore the commanding presence that seemed to fill the entire space. Alex watched her every move with unusual interest. Between casual remarks, he began asking personal questions, as if trying to break through the wall of discretion she held up. He asked where she came from, what she dreamed of, and complimented her beauty in a way that was more than polite, it was suggestive. Grace felt her blood boil. She stopped arranging the room and lifted her eyes with quiet firmness. With a respectful but steady voice, she told him she was there only to work, that her goal was simple: to stay honest and protect the job she had fought to earn. She would not be disrespected, no matter the name or the wealth involved. For a moment, silence filled the room. Alex looked at her, and instead of taking offense, a faint smile curved his lips, as if her resistance was, to him, something new and intriguing. Grace didn't know whether it made her angrier or more unsettled, but she couldn't shake the feeling she was being tested. He picked up his jacket, adjusted his expensive watch, and left quietly without another word. Only a final, mysterious glance before the door closed behind him. Grace stood frozen, her heart racing. She knew this wasn't the end of their confrontation, but the beginning of something far more unpredictable. A month went by, and routine seemed to have settled back into place. Until one rainy afternoon, Alex's name appeared once again on the guest list. Grace's heart skipped a beat, but she kept her expression steady. The hotel management once more assigned her to his exclusive suite. She had no choice, only the certainty that she would have to face that unsettling presence again. When the door opened, Alex was there, but not alone. Beside him stood a blonde woman with elegant posture and a confident smile. Grace tried to mask her discomfort, greeting them with professionalism. Yet Alex's eyes didn't leave her, as if every detail of her presence mattered more than any companion he brought along. Grace avoided interaction as much as possible, focusing only on her tasks. But Alex, with a warm greeting, broke the silence. He told her he had spent the entire month thinking of her, that his absence hadn't only been about business, but about reflection. His words were firm, leaving no room for misinterpretation. He wanted to win her over. The blonde watched in silence, as if she had already expected such a confession. The air grew heavy, and Grace, confused, didn't know how to react. Her heart pounded, caught between indignation and the strange sensation of being seen beyond appearances. With every word, the distance between them seemed to shrink. Grace left the suite with hurried steps, but something had changed. Alex's declaration echoed in her mind, cracking the barrier she had tried so hard to maintain. For the first time, she realized she was facing something she couldn't simply ignore. Fate seemed to be conspiring to draw them closer. When she returned to the suite, her resolve was clear. She would no longer allow herself to be misunderstood. Her eyes burned with indignation as she faced Alex. Her words came sharp, accusing him of believing that everything could be bought with money. Her voice shook not from fear, but from wounded pride. It was the defense of someone who refused to be treated like part of a game. Alex didn't retreat. Instead, he laughed. A low, provocative laugh that only fueled her anger. He motioned toward the balcony and called the blonde woman over. Grace folded her arms, ready for another affront. But when the woman stepped forward, the tone of the moment shifted. Alex introduced her as Olivia, his sister, shattering in an instant the image Grace had built. Olivia, with gentleness, explained the truth. She said she often accompanied her brother on trips, and while she knew his flaws, she also knew his sincerity. She admitted that Alex had been trying to win Grace over since their very first meeting. This wasn't a passing whim. It was something deeper. Her words hung in the air, dismantling Grace's anger piece by piece. Silence fell heavy between them. Grace didn't know if she felt relieved or even more unsettled. The truth shook her certainty, leaving her vulnerable. Alex's eyes, now serious, revealed something beyond provocation, real desire, marked by an honesty she hadn't expected. Grace left the suite shaken. Indignation still pulsed in her chest, but a new question echoed in her mind. What if it was true? What if, behind the arrogance and fortune, there was a heart that truly saw her? The following night, Grace received an unexpected note. A firm handwriting invited her to dinner outside the hotel. For a moment, she thought about refusing, but Olivia's words kept echoing in her head. With her heart racing, she slipped into her best simple dress and headed to the place mentioned. That night, the city seemed different, as if it too was waiting for something to happen. The restaurant was elegant, lit by candles that flickered against crystal glasses. Soft music filled the air, creating an almost magical atmosphere. When Alex appeared, the provocative tone that had once irritated her was gone. His posture was that of a serious man who wanted to be heard and understood. He approached her like a gentleman, pulling out her chair. Between refined dishes and exchanged glances, the silence no longer felt uncomfortable. Alex revealed, without hesitation, that he had fallen in love with her the very first time he saw her in the hotel room. Grace, still guarded, listened quietly. Each word chipped away at the walls she had built. Her heart, however, was beginning to yield. The candles swayed as if keeping rhythm with the conversation. Alex didn't pressure her. He simply made clear what he felt. For the first time, Grace allowed herself to smile at him. The lightness of that moment contrasted with the heavy doubts of the past. It was as if a new chapter had just opened before them. When the evening came to an end, Alex walked her back to the hotel. There was no rush, only a deep look that spoke more than words. Grace stepped inside, but she knew life would never be the same. Something within her had shifted, and now doubt mingled with hope. The days that followed seemed brighter. Grace moved through the hotel corridors with lighter steps, her heart carrying secrets no one could guess. Alex appeared at unexpected moments, always with a gentle gesture or a word that dissolved her defenses. The provocations of the past were gone, placed by tenderness revealed in small details. Over time, Grace began to give in. The soft touch of his hand, the way his eyes searched for hers even in a crowded room, each gesture was a silent invitation to believe in the impossible. He never rushed her, he simply waited. His patience alone was a declaration, and little by little, the wall around her heart began to crumble. A month passed. Alex traveled for business, and the emptiness of his absence was felt in every corner of the hotel. Nights were quiet again, but now they carried longing. Grace caught herself imagining when she would see him again, and the simple memory of his smile was enough to warm her heart. The reunion was simple, yet intense. When she saw him again in the hotel lobby, Grace's legs trembled. His eyes found hers immediately, and in that instant, the world seemed to vanish around them. Alex's presence brought back a sense of life she hadn't even realized was missing. That night, there was no forced confession. It was Grace who, in a quiet voice, admitted she was in love. Alex held her as if he had finally found what he had been searching for all along. Love was no longer just a promise, it had become reality. Yet deep down, both of them knew destiny still held something greater for them. The night sky was scattered with stars when Alex led her to the highest balcony of the hotel. A gentle breeze lifted Grace's hair as the city sparkled below, as if all that luxury was nothing more than a backdrop for what truly mattered. Her heart raced, sensing that something was about to happen. Alex held her hand firmly, his eyes shining with emotion. His words came heavy with sincerity. He had loved her from the very first moment, and didn't want to wait any longer. From his pocket, he pulled a small velvet box. Inside, a ring shimmered under the moonlight. The silence around them seemed to guard that moment like an eternal secret. Tears rolled down Grace's cheeks before she could even answer. It wasn't a loud yes, but an emotional nod, a smile through tears that spoke louder than words. Alex embraced her tightly, as if he would never let her go. The promise of a new life was sealed there, in the glow of two souls that had finally found each other. Months later, the wedding was announced, a luxurious event filled with flowers and music, yet carrying the simplicity of the story that had brought them together. Olivia and Emma, Alex's sisters, stood proudly as bridesmaids for the brother who had finally found something greater than wealth. Guests watched in astonishment at the maid who had won the millionaire's heart. The next day, newspapers splashed the headline, "Millionaire marries hotel housekeeper." Society buzzed, some shocked, others enchanted. But for Grace and Alex, none of it mattered. Love had overcome barriers, prejudice, and differences. From that day on, their future would not be written in gold, but in trust and devotion. Life had proven that true love always wins, even when everything seems lost. The simple maid had conquered the millionaire's heart and showed that hope is born where we least expect it. And now, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching this story from? And what did you think of this moving romance? Share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to keep following more love stories that will touch your heart.